Hello, Axel speaking. Do you hear me well?
Yes, I do. Are we supposed to follow the sound in Zoom or on the live streaming?
I don't know. I think I have to use Zoom. It's what was told.
Yeah.
Hello, Axel speaking. Do you hear me well?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I.
Okay, there is an echo. Do you hear the echo or not? Or it was just a test?
I think I had my streaming webpage on too. So
Okay.
yeah. I don't know about the tech guys.
So I turn off the streaming so that there is no echo at home, but of the sound will be fine. At the very beginning, this morning, there were some difficulties following with stream.
Okay, Axel, we can see your screen and your presentation now.
Okay, that's fine. So
okay, yes, and I can hear you too.
okay, sorry.
That's okay. I don't know if you could see me at all.
I don't see you now, but I hear you very well. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, now I'm waving to the camera.
Oh, okay, I see you. Okay.
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 So,
in the room,
welcome.
so I see you. Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, I think we need some 5, maximum 10 more minutes, and you will be the first one. So when you hear me speaking, please be ready.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, and it's, do we keep 20 minutes presentation and 10 minutes
yes,
question? Okay.
as it was planned. So you have
okay.
your time as what planned.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oni ga od zadnjih izključujejo. To pustva tukaj na tem Zoomu vse, ne? Če se bo vse videlo. Ništa vi izključavate. aktiva in samo kar je
Onda
slišal.
taj ide valjda tebi.
Okay. Vse ostalo, kako?
Funkcionira, no?
To je zdaj, še prezentacija, da ne bo...
Ne, zdaj on šira.
On testira.
Ja, on testira, zdaj imam
Okay, no.
Možemo samo ovo transparentno probati.
Samo z njim se zmeni, kaj je... Učrta
Mine or Ariana's?
Samo z njim se
Mine.
Okay, can
Okay,
you hear me?
yeah.
Yes, okay, that's great. Works perfectly.
Okay, and my...
George?
No?
No. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you now.
Okay, great.
I think
I
that...
can hear you too.
Yes, it's working.
A sada? Yes.
Yes.
Still yes.
Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I do not have sound from the room now. Okay. Okay. Can you confirm that you hear me? I've got trouble just before. I'm not sure I'm sharing my screen again. So perhaps there is a trouble.
Okay, so dear guests, dear speakers, welcome to our session, Didactics for Digital Education. I'm very happy to see you in person here, but also welcome all the participants who are watching us online. We are happy to have several speakers here in person and also the students, but our first speaker will be speaking on Zoom from France. So, Axel Jean, are you here with us? It's like
Yes.
ghost calling?
Yes, I'm here with you.
Thank you. So our first
Yes,
speaker is Axel Jean from the Ministry of National Education and Youth, France. He's head of the Office for the Support of Digital Innovation and Applied Research at French Ministry. As I heard, Alex, you will be talking about AI in education, and I know there are several interesting examples in France happening just right now. So welcome to Slovenia, and please let us know what is going on in France about AI in education.
Thank you
The
very
floor
much.
is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for your invitation. I'm very pleased to be with you today, even if it's remotely from Paris. I'm working at the French Ministry, and I propose to share with you a glimpse of what we do with AI in France and with other European, like Slovenian people. So, as you know, AI is a quite ancient in history, but it's a young science. It's about 70 years old, and it has a lot of legacies from mathematics, from digital technology, from psychology, from cognitive science, from biology. And it has a lot of impact on society, question of ethics, of technology, of economic issues, and of course, it has impact for school. As you know, there are very different definitions of AI, but I like this one, which is a very simple one. All the theories and technicals implemented with a view to making machine capable of simulating intelligence. The main point is simulating. It's not like in intelligence. It's not the equality with intelligence. It just has to resemble to specific sectors. And for us, it's only to assist and to aid human intelligence. So there is like an oxymoron with artificial intelligence. Artificial is the purpose of silicium, and intelligence is for creature, for a natural life like animals and human. So simulating, keep in mind, it's not replacing, it's only modeling and imitating. So what are the challenges for artificial intelligence in education? Well, artificial intelligence is mainly an accelerator for us. And we know that it's disrupting the way people work, access knowledge, and their social relationship. So it's quite natural that it impacts to education. And we have to keep in mind that we have to, from the earliest age, to be conscious that we need to train about awareness, acculturation, and training, and this for many generations, for the very young people, to students, to teachers, to trainers, and to the one who decide about policy. So just a quick picture of the question about AI. To the left side, we probably live in something which is close to a revolution, which lead to a lot of transformation, who impacts society and citizenship. So at the center of the circle, you see AI innovation and all about, for example, what AI does. For us, we have to think about it when we're dealing with education. So if we are in a revolution, we need to train all different generations, and this is necessary to be aware about the transformation who occurs actually. And the main aim of education is always to train future citizens. So we have to prepare and protect, and the way to do this is to develop critical thinking, And this is a sufficient condition in order to become a good citizen in our society. So to success in this, we have to prepare, to accompany, to frame, and to know. And this is very important, of course, for students, but it's very important too for teachers and for trainers. In France, we've got two main axes for education. We have to think about developing AI-based services for learning, and we have to develop information and training on AI. It's very different things. We do not expect everyone to develop information and training on AI, but we expect everyone is used to use AI-based service for learning. So how do we do this in France? As I just said before, we've got this main entrances, acculturating teachers, students, and with the student, all their parents to the subject of AI, educating students about AI and learning with AI, so digital services using bricks of artificial intelligence. And then the third part is programming AI. Tomorrow, I know that Wayne Holmes will be present at this conference in Slovenia. And Wayne Holmes is one of the researchers who deal with these three axes about AI. For us, we have done an AI innovation partnership, and the main point for us is only to assist and support teachers in differentiating learning through innovative digital service based on AI. It's not replacing teacher at all. It's not doing classroom without teacher. It's just assisting teacher in order to have this differentiation with the learners. So our aim is to use theory and digital services based on AI in order to processing data, assisting and interacting with humans in order to learn. By processing, we're thinking about analyze, present, exhibit, organize activities. And the main point is it has to be done dynamically for the teacher and the student. So when we started AI Innovation Partnership in 2019, we just focused on part of fundamental learning in French about reading and writing, and part of mathematics about numbers, calculation, and geometry. And it was done for the very young pupils. And what we do intend to do based on what we learned for this first AI Innovation Partnership is to launch a new one for school, for the college, and for high school. So I just focus on specificities of this innovation partnership modality. We can, first of all, it's a public procurement. And it's very different from other public procurement because we can select 3 services in French and 3 services in mathematics. Most of the time when you've got a procurement, you just select one of services. And in this case of innovation partnership, you can select much more than one. So that teacher and student can use different services. On the other hand, a specificity of the innovation partnership is that they've got 3 successive phases. The first phase is about 15 months. It's for research and development, and it is done with the teacher and the student in the classroom all over France. So it's very, very important because it's not only developed in laboratory from the research point of view, it's developed with researchers, but even with a teacher and a student in order to test it for real. After the research and development phase, you've got pre-industrialization phase, because sometimes you can have a very good idea in the laboratory, but you cannot scale up this idea in order to address all the country. So pre-industrialization phase, sorry for my English, is very difficult, and it's an etap that we obviously need to do. And the last phase is about deployment and exploitation. It's paid by the country, and it's freely usable by all the teachers and all the students in France, and this for 4 years. So what have we done exactly for French and mathematics? we focus on developing an AI that we can trust. This is the main point, and it has been said before by Rina, who was speaking just before the pause. We have to have AI we can trust, and this is a very fundamental case for us. We structured this following three main axes. The first axis is about ethical and legal point of view. So we've got to think about ethics from the design stage, because if we miss this, it's very too late if we miss this point. So we've got to think it from the laboratory point of view, and then keep in mind that always it has to stay ethics, to be useful and to be well correct about our point of view. The second point is increasing transparency. This is not very easy, but we have to develop the interpretability of the proposal. We used to say we've got to eliminate the black box AI could use to be considered. This point is to empower users, because AI is only to assist and to help. So to help users, interpretability of AI is a key point. The third point is to improve auditability of AI system. So we could say open the black box, including the GDPR point of expectation. The second point is that in order to have an AI of trust is to be science-based. So it's with pedagogical and technological contribution of scientific research that we develop our AI system-based for teaching and for learning. There are three main interests. The first one on the left side is to be aware that we check for the best learning at the right level of learning for the student. It's called it's following work of Vygotsky. On the right side, you got the work of Ebigos, and it's about so on the left side it was about the right level, on the right side is about the right time. So we know that we always forgetting things, and if we do it on purpose, very rightful, we can just react knowledge at the right time, so that we remember much better things. So these are the 2 points: the right level to learn and the right time to react and to remember things. At the center of the screen, we use AI that know how to have dynamic clustering of students. And the main point with that, it has to be done with after each activity, each week, each day, each month. So each teacher do clustering with their student, but with AI you can do that dynamically for after each event, after each activity you have done, the student have done. And the third part is we have to keep in mind that for an AI of trust, we have to be user-centered approach each time. This for teacher and for student. From the design of the service and during the initial instruction, when we select the services we keep for teacher, and the phase of co-construction with iteration via applied research from the laboratory to the classroom. So we do a circle from laboratory to classroom, from classroom to laboratory. Everyone has to learn, the teacher and the student, from what has been solved by science, and the science to be very conscious of what is needed by teacher and student. So it's a co-construction and a regulation where the ministry team works. Of course, we do not work only at the ministry level. We work with all of the area in France, and it's very important to act with the teacher and the trainer all over France, because they are the main expert of pedagogy. So we are confident with them, and they teach us what we have to improve, and the services that we have to keep, and the services we have to stop to work with. So it's very special, but we believe that the teacher are the main expert in teaching. It's quite obvious, but they decide the services we keep in France in order to share it in all over the country. So the kind of AI we use, it's a mix of AI we use from the very old, what is called the good old-fashioned AI, like system expert, to deep learning. We are not looking for something which will be dependent of mode. For example, we use just a mix of AI. The main point for us is what is useful, even if it's old, if it's useful, so it's good for teaching and for learning. For teacher, we are searching for services helping teacher to identify needs for personalized learning and helping teacher for form dynamic group of pupils. But I insist on this. Teacher is the expert of education. So AI system is only an assistance. It does proposition to the teacher. And at the end of the day, the teacher decides what is relevant for his student. For the point of view of student, I've written there what AI does. It does adaptive learning. So as I said before, from expert system to deep learning, for example, to provide activities and exercises at the right level and the right time. It does dynamic clustering of students in order to have differentiation and collaboration between students. It does natural language processing. As I said before, we started with very young people. So for example, with natural language processing, you can do mathematics, solving problem, even if we don't know how to read mathematics. And the last point, but very, very important one, it does a trace analysis, including handwriting. So with tablet, you can use a pen and we can analyze how the student write handwriting. I did some capture of the three services we have actually in French to work about reading and writing. And the three services we have in solving problem calculation and mathematics. So as I said before, there are three services in French, three services in mathematics. And we have a last one, which is called Captain Kelly, which is about practicing oral English for pupils in school. So I do not will read as what the sixth solution do, but I just have to illustrate one of them. So Lalilo, and you will you can check the seat if you want to have much more information. Lalilo is about reading and working about comprehension in French for people from pupils from 6 years old to 8 years old. Navi is quite interesting services. It's about doing differentiation with a digital service, but you can also print exercise in a paper that has differentiated. You can print exercise in paper so that a student can do it with paper, and the teacher correct it. Not the result in the digital service, and you can print next exercise in paper so that the student can write it using a pen, a classic pen. Caligo is about working with handing. You can write with a pen and write on your tablet so that the AI will correct and analyze if the student is working from graphism or is still writing. So there are two AI working with Caligo, one with the quality of the script, of the writing of the student, and the other one is the reading analysis of what the student is able to do. We've got three services in mathematics, which are mainly about solving problems and calculus. This last one, Matia, is quite fun because it uses a lot of gaming technology in order to use one tablet, and the student can work together, so by 2 or by 4, playing games with mathematics. And this is not very usual because sometimes you hear that AI is only for doing individualization learning, and it's not exactly true. With AI, you can make students work together, play together, and learn together. This is the point with Mattia. For the end of my presentation, I will focus on a project led by Slovenia, France, Italy, Ireland, and Luxembourg, and is about AI for teacher. So AI for teacher, and this time for high school. We are working with this point, and we want to share together with this in 5 countries. We want to study with teacher what is relevant for teaching mathematics, science, and modern language, and we were thinking about English. So this work I just started a few months ago. Next week we will meet in Paris, and we are very proud to meet our Slovenian colleague, Italian, Ireland, Irish, and from the one from Luxembourg. And we are dealing with the same subjects that I presented before. So what is relevant in AI for teaching and learning, but this time for high school. So our point is to test for real services, to be critical about these services, and to know how we can train a teacher, because of course we have to train teacher in order to practice their practice be good. We have to think about how to train our teacher in order to use AI-based services. So this AI for teacher is about it's an Erasmus Plus, and it's focused and it's in phase what European Commission Digital Agenda for Education. So it's about developing competencies of the teacher in order to teach and to learn about science and mathematics. So we will use different AI bricks, and we will analyze them, critical them, and perhaps we will develop new services in order to share them between our 5 countries at the very beginning. The point for us is not to do it for a very limited amount of teacher, is to try to scaling up and to try to have a systematic change for our country, or 5 countries. For the last point I will to emphasize, it's about the circle I mentioned before about citizenship. AI and education, it's always the aim is always to enlighten citizens. So it's the main point, and we know that we have new digital profession in front of us, even new profession that we do not even know now. And one point for that is for AI, we really need to have much more girls invested in this field. We need much more girls in science, much more girls in digital technology, and much more girls in AI technology. This is very fundamental to have much more girls, because this will lead to less bias in AI. The more girls we have in AI, the less bias we will have with digital technology and AI technology. So I apologize for my English this morning. I was looking for my word most of the time. I hope that I gave you a glimpse of what we are working on, and we are very happy to work with Slovenian people and with Italian, Irish, and the one from Luxembourg. And of course, all what we do is in phase with Digital Education Action Plan from Europe, the point 6. And as Rina said before, it's of course linked to point 8 about digital competencies that we need for our pupil, for our teacher, for our trainer, to have some enlightened, to have citizens who keep critical, but we live in their time. Thank you very much for you to be here and for your patience. Once again, I apologize for my English.
Thank you, Axel. And don't worry about your English, we understand everything. I personally thank you for the part when you mentioned co-construction with teachers and AI as just assistant, and the teacher have to decide at the end of the day. As a mathematics teacher, I really appreciate that. Well, it's strange for me to see you in my back and talk to people in the audience. So now is a question time. So please, what will you ask Axel about? Whoa, silence. I think they are counting on AI to asking questions instead of the audience. Okay, let me jump in while they're thinking. So we have lots of girls and women here in the audience. So luckily we will have it in AI and IT as well. But we have also students in our audience. So Axel, do you, from those applications you used in France, have some feedback from the students? Some first-hand experience, what they commented? Do they like math on a computer and learning French?
Yeah, as I said before, what we have started in 2019 was about very young students from 6 to 8 years old. So it's at primary school. At this time, we deal with primary school. And we will launch next year AI system based for college and for high school. But what we know from the teacher and from the young student is that they learn very much using AI system based for two reasons. The first one is that there is no judgment from the AI system. It adds a feedback to the learner, so from the student, and it never judge what it has been done by the student. So students appreciate a lot to train with AI system, because AI system deliver at the right time and at the right level in order to progress each time. So if you are very, very good at mathematics, well, you will follow on progressing. And if you encounter difficulties, it's not a trouble, because I will adapt in order that you finally succeed in mathematics. And the other point is that the one developing AI system based in order to teach and learn use a lot of technology from gaming. I'm not sure if you know what I mean. I mean using technology from the game industry. So what is proposed to students is it's very pleasant and it's very fun, but it's difficult, and it uses the technology which are used in game, and we know that this technology know how to learn each time you practice.
Of course, everybody loves to play. So is my audience awake now? Could we have some questions from your side? Yeah, okay, please, microphone here.
So you mentioned using artificial intelligence in classes with younger generations, but my question is, has there been any examples of using artificial intelligence with some older generations, and how did they cope with that?
Yeah. As I said, we didn't not practice it with older people now, but we know at university, and I'm sure it's the same in your country, you can have AI system based useful in university. So I cannot tell you what older think about it, because my main focus actually is at primary school.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Okay, here, please.
Hello, Axel.
Hello.
I have a question. Actually, I have a question about ethics and AI.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about algorithmic bias, use of data of such young children, discrimination? Thank you.
Okay.
Very complex question.
Yeah, complex question, but it's a main point for developing AI system-based ethic. And we are very lucky to be in Europe. It's our main focus, our main concern about AI system. As I said before, we've got to think about ethic from the design, and we have to check that ethic is okay all the way long. So when we decided from the beginning it's okay, but we have to check that AI does exactly what it was intended to do for us. And I will just emphasize a few seconds about this. When we develop AI system-based, we want them to do not less than what we expected them to do, because no one wants to be disappointed, nor the ministry, nor the trainer, nor the teacher, nor the student. But most important of all, we do not want AI system to do more than what we intended it to do. So I insist on this. In France, our point is to make AI system based to assist teacher, no more than that. So AI system does a recommendation, and the teacher, who is the expert of humanity and how to teach and to learn, decide if the AI recommendation is good for a student or not. If the teacher uses it, the AI system knows that it was a good recommendation. If the teacher do not use the recommendation, the AI system has to learn that he has not to recommend this again to another teacher. So there is a double feedback from the use of the student and from the use of the teacher. And to be precise about your question, we know that there can be bias. So I insist on this. We have to develop all around the country in order, for example, when you are reading, we do not have the same pronunciation in the south of France than in the north of France, in the east of France and the west of France. So what we did, we work with all teachers from all over France in order to minimize bias when we were training our models. And this is very, very important that data sets are quite good, because if we do not have a good data set, for example, you will only have the pronunciation of Paris, or you will have only the pronunciation of a French speaker speaking in English. So that will not be good. That not be really, really good. So we have to have a data set built using users from all over France. I insist on this. We have to have data set and scientists who come from different culture and who come from girls and boys, because we know that when engineers are only men, there could be bias. So we have to have a mix, and the more diversity you have when you have a dataset built, the better your AI system will be.
Thank you, Axel. I have another question regarding the ethics from our online audience. The question is, how are commercial vendors answering to the ethical standards promoted in the project?
Sorry, could you repeat it again, please?
Okay. How are commercial vendors answering to the ethical standards promoted in the project?
Well, in the procurement, when we've got a public procurement, they have to follow the standard fixed by the ministry. So when the instructor deal with the proposal of the commercial, we check what the engagement they have, and we control it. So this is the procurement is set by the ministry, and it is public, and we've got a lot of different instructors who check what is said by the commercial. I'm not sure I've answered the question, so please let me know if it's not the case.
Okay, thank you. So maybe later on, if colleagues in the chat on our online platform ask furthermore, you could add additional details. And one more question, very specific. Alan asks it. Can you tell us about identity cards you're working on?
Okay. Yeah, as I said, we've got to audit system. We have to know exactly what is working in the black box. So in France, when we have our 6th solution and the 7th for learning English, we made identity cards about what is the AI system used in order, for example, to test if the student read correctly. And these identity cards, we started with that, and we think that it has to be public. So identity cards just said, this is the nature of AI used in order to do writing, to do understanding, to do clustering. So it is rated in this identity cards. And when the scientists want to change something, they have to make a change too in their identity cards. And for us, identity cards can define a cartography. I hope this is the same name in English as in French, a dynamic cartography of what kind of AI is used in classroom, so that we will be more transparent and we will be more confident, and we will follow on empowering teacher and parents and students to know exactly what is occurring and what kind of technology is used in order to deliver this service. We think it was printed in a report, when famous mathematician in France, Cédric Villani, wrote a report a long time, 3 years ago, and he focused on the fact that we have to maximize transparency when we are dealing with AI technology. And most of the time you will hear a scientist, well, not very good scientist, saying that it's much more too complicated to explain you how it works. And this is not true. It's complicated things, but we have to do an effort in order to expose for different reading level, for students, for teacher, for parents. And if we cannot explain exactly what is occurring in the black box, then it's probably better not to use it. So our identity cards, it's public things we intend to share with teachers, with trainers, with parents, and with students in order to know exactly what is occurring. But I do not want to say on something which could be interpreted as only wrong things. We do think science and AI technology are very useful for teacher and for students, but we do think too that we have to be transparent about technology used in order to assist teacher and student. So it's a job we are working on, and we are sharing this job with AI for teacher with Slovenian, Italian, the one from Luxembourg, and Irish people too.
Thank you, Alex. I think that you gain a lot of interest talking about identity cards, and all of us will be closely following what is going in France AI in education. So we thank you for this time. Thank you for sharing the lots of great news with us, and we are continuing with our conference. Thanks for being here, Axel, and see you next time. Maybe.
Thank you very much for invitation.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we are continuing with our next speaker, Ariana Blažić from 9th Gymnasium from Zagreb. Ariana is a teacher trainer and instructional designer. She's a co-author of the Croatian National Curriculum for English Language Teaching and the Croatian National Curriculum for the use of ICT as a cross-curricular topic. She's an external expert at European SchoolNet, where she contributes to EU Code Week by developing teaching and learning resources and teacher training opportunities that aim at scaling up innovative use of digital technologies in schools. She serves as an advisory board member for driving K-12 innovation and as a member of steering group for Digital Education Hackathon, because she will be 3 more days here in Ljubljana working on a hackathon. So, Ariana will talking today about students' voice and choice. Ariana, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Lydia, for such a nice introduction. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here today in front of you, face to face, after such a long time. So I'm going to start my talk on student voice and choice and give you my view on it by sharing this quote. What is happening now? Just a moment, but I can do it without, yes, by sharing this quote by George Couros, who is a Canadian educator, and he says, the job of a teacher is to be the spark, help build confidence, and then get out of the way. So you might be wondering why I am talking about a teacher, about teachers in this session on learners, but yes, okay, but I can't not talk about teachers. So getting out of the way is very important for, okay, can I turn on the slides? Yes, thank you, okay. So getting out of the way is important for today's classroom, for every type of today's classroom, be it physically distanced, be it online or hybrid classroom. This getting out of the way needs to be applied in today's classroom, because only in this way can we make sure that our students learn in a student-centered classroom and that they are provided with voice and choice. So what does it mean? It means that they are active participants of the learning process, that they solve problems, but not only solve problems, they also find problems and then find solutions for these problems. But as you can see here in this photo, there is a rope there. So this is actually support and guidance that students, although being independent, they have when learning. And also this type of learning, this active type of learning, means that students collaborate with each other, that they collaborate on a school level, but also on international level or national, if you want, that they are critical thinkers, that they are provided with enough opportunities to innovate and create, and also that they are decision makers. And we've already heard this term, decision makers, today. And what does it mean? It means that they don't only make small decisions, but that we give them a chance to make responsible decisions, to make sustainable and substantial decisions. So we know that one size doesn't fit all, right? So how can we come to the class and then teach in the same way for all the students? So why don't we give them a chance to develop their own learning pathway, to develop to use and apply learning strategies that they like most, that suit their needs, their interests and their skills. They can also choose the materials that they are most familiar with that will help them achieve the learning outcomes. They can also decide on the pace of learning on their own, the order of activity they complete, or maybe also decide on what the final product will be, how they will demonstrate that they have mastered a concept, and how they will show what they have learned. And you might be wondering now, where is the teacher? If we give all these rights to students and we empower them to make decisions, so what about the teacher? I think that the pandemic has shown that the teacher is more needed than ever. Students need scaffolding, students need support and guidance. So we are there to make sure that they will achieve the learning outcomes. And only in this way will we help our students to take responsibility of their learning, to take control. And by doing so, they will develop their self-regulation skills. And we are building student agency. So student agency doesn't only mean they are making responsible decisions. It also means that they are acting and they are not being acted upon. They are shaping things. It's not that they are being shaped. And this means that the activities they do in class are meaningful, are relevant, are from their own environment, so they are authentic, so that they are self-initiated and have a purpose, so that they can create something that is relevant for their own everyday life. And of course, support and guidance by the teacher will always be there. And now let me show how I do that in my classroom. So I use choice boards, learning menus, and games, especially escape rooms, to provide students with voice and choice. Here is an example of a choice board I made for my students. The task was to read a book and then create a book report. Please notice that I use the word create a book report, not write a book report, because there are so many different ways they can demonstrate what they have read and how they have understood the content of the book. So I created this choice board with 8 different ideas or options, activities that they can choose from, so that they develop their own, unique book report. And in the middle part is reserved for a free choice. I think it is important that I don't impose on them what I know, but I also invite them to design with me, to tell me what they know, and they know so much. Students, do you agree? Well, yes, okay. So yes, they know so much, so why wouldn't they share their knowledge from their everyday life? Why wouldn't they bring it to school? Share it not only with me, but also with their students, and this is with their peers, and this is how we learn. And so here in this choice board, they use only one activity. But look at this one. This is a choice board for learning vocabulary, new words in a foreign language. There are 8 different strategies there, and I want my students to choose 3. So I gamified it. In fact, it's a tic-tac-toe board. So they need to do the activities 3 in a row, diagonally, vertically, horizontally. And in the middle, again, you decide. Maybe they have their own strategies for learning vocabulary. They play games. So maybe they can apply their knowledge from games here for learning new words at school. And it doesn't have to be 8 ideas or 9. It can be fewer, as many as you want. This is just also an example for creating a tutorial. Or it can look totally different. It's up to you and the creativity of the teacher to develop a choice board that would appeal to students. But there is more to it. I like colors, I like creating this, but still I'm a pedagogue, so to say. Yes, I'm a teacher. And it's what I want. I know that my students are different. So when I create this board, I have my students in mind. So I create activities that would cater to different learning styles. I don't tell students the background of this choice board. I let them figure it out by themselves. And they do it because they will see if they like drawing, they will choose this yellow box with a sketch note. If they like writing, they will create a web page. So they will figure it out. Or I can tell them what is behind, what's my agenda behind this choice board. For example, here it's the complexity level, the difficulty level. So those orange ones or green ones are very simple. And I tell them, okay, you can try this one. And then the blue ones are more complex. So it's up to them to decide how challenging they want this activity to be. Or I can create a choice board based on Bloom's taxonomy, so that I start with lower order thinking skills and then they end up with a higher order thinking skills activity. Or speaking of Bloom's, I have also created this one, which is a flower. In the middle, this yellow part, this is a compulsory task. They need to do it, they need to start here, but the blue petals, it's up to them. They choose two, for example. The green leaves mean that these are the tasks they need to create, or I can add some other ideas on how they will demonstrate their learning. These choice boards are excellent when you want to create, to collect a lot of materials that you will share with students to choose from. So you create a choice board on a certain topic. And also I like using Bitmoji avatars. I think it makes it a little bit more personalized from my side. I don't know if the students would think it's cool, but you know, avatars come and go. And so it's, these are really, really different types of activities that you can create. And another one is the learning menu, which is actually just the restaurant menu. You have the appetizer, 3 activities I created, all 3 compulsory, because they are short, because they serve as a warm-up, and it's an introduction to the main activity. And then the main course, they choose only once. They have a choice, but only once is compulsory, depending what and how they want to tackle this problem. And the dessert is optional, but as it is always with dessert, it is irresistible. So students do it. Do these activities, for example, they create a meme. Who wouldn't want to create a meme? Students, do you agree with me? Do you like creating? Yes. Or maybe create a superhero who is fighting the problem of plastic pollution. So there are so many different ideas that can help students make learning more meaningful and more appealing and more involved in and engaged in learning. And also games, escape rooms, very popular with my students, and yes, they are very time consuming. I spent a lot of time on creating them, but once in the classroom, I just walk around, they work in groups, and they learn by playing. But I don't want my students just to be consumers of the escape rooms that I make. I also want them to create their own escape rooms. And last year, while we were online, I participated with my student in an e-twinning project where the task was to create escape rooms in international teams. So it was a very, very successful project, and students really enjoyed creating escape rooms for their peers. There are so many different ways how students can show what they have learned, how they can show that they have mastered the concept. And digital tools, there are so many, and if we use them and bring them to our classroom, allow our students to use them, then we will see that the results, the outcomes are much more different than without it. And this morning in the performance, you remember there were these teachers who said, today we are gonna learn, today we are gonna do this. So teachers, don't come to your class and say, today we are gonna learn this. Today we are gonna do this. Today you are gonna to create this or that. Instead, why don't you ask this question? What do you want to create today? Students, how would you feel if I came to your classroom and said, what do you want to create today? Would you feel more empowered? I guess so, yes. Because you know how learning works best for you and how you will show what you have learned. And here is also at the end of my talk, this continuum of choice that I wanted to share with you. which shows how this teacher-centered classroom moves to a learner-centered classroom. I started with choice boards, with menus. I offered students different choices, but this is only the beginning. Students are only participants in this process, but by giving them this option to co-create this choice board together with me, I empower them to become co-designers, and then this leads to designers, so they have their own ideas and start designing. And then we empower them for advocacy, so that they find challenges that they want to solve together with their classmates in at school. And also, and then finally, this self-regulated learner who has the power to do things in their local community or global community. Why not? And my final word would be that that students are creators. So we should let them create. We should get out of the way. However, I strongly believe that we are co-creators, that students and teachers are co-creators of the learning process. And especially today, I believe that this line between the teachers and the students is blurred. We are all learners and we are all creators. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariana. As I see, motive of co-creation is alongside all our speakers today.
Yeah.
So it will be a combination of AI, students, teachers, all of us. Okay, so dear audience, what will we ask Ariana? Yeah, please.
I have a question. I hope I will be able to formulate it. What is the relation between active learning, which I really like, and motivation? Is it that students should be in advance motivated to be, very involved in active learning, or does the tools in active learning motivate the students?
Well, I would say that if you refer to digital technology, I wouldn't say that digital technology is the only mechanism that would motivate students. We can do it in so many different ways that don't include technology. But yes, technology can help, because you saw our students, this performance today. So they use mobile phones. So why should we stop using them here in the classroom? Why don't we take advantage of what they bring to the classroom? And this is what I think we can motivate them. I'm a huge fan of digital technology, but I don't think this is the main thing when teaching students.
Thank you. Next question. Oh.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be really critical. There's just one thing, because I also like to do active learning with students. And when we come to the topic that they like or they're motivated, it's great. But sometimes you have students who don't want to do anything. And if you would ask them, choose what you like, oh, nothing, we want a free class, let's go home. That's why I said the motivation is the key for me. And I think that we should look broadly, not just in school. We need active people, children. So if I receive students in school who are not used to learning like this or to be active, it's very hard. But if they are raised up from the little ones like that, or they are interested in knowledge, in everything, it's much easier. I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you. It's more difficult when I teach in high school, so it's when students come, yes, with a certain point of perspective, how they are supposed to learn, or that the teacher should do everything and they do nothing. It is difficult and disappointing as well. But I think what we teachers shouldn't do is not to give up. So if you try doing different things with students, because not the same things will work in the 2 different classrooms. We've all been there. When you do prepare everything, it works perfectly in one classroom. It doesn't work at all in another. So I think it's important not to give up, just be persistent, and you will find this wavelength where you and your students are. Yes, it's difficult. It's not easy to be a teacher, and it doesn't mean that I come to every lesson and I give them a choice board. No, but I like doing this project-based learning so that they have more time, and that's why I liked online lessons, because they have more opportunities to explore and find what they want to express and how they want to express it.
Thank you, Ariana. I agree with you and the colleague. We have to teach students how to be active participants. So it's a lot of work behind that as well. So, or I should ask our students here, would you like to go to Ariana's class? Yeah, me too. And also our colleagues on the chat and online platform said, okay, we are going to Ariana's class.
Yeah.
So you will be having more and more students.
Thank
you, dear
I'm
Ariana.
looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
we are going to the next of our examples. Our colleague, Nermin Barjanovic, he's been teaching mathematics in primary school for 20 years. He's known as a teacher practitioner who is always looking for new ways to pass on knowledge to students. In Slovenia, he's also known as a co-author of freely accessible interactive textbooks, some other teaching materials, and as a teacher practitioner who always likes to present his works in class. But at the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, he worked remotely with the students from day one throughout his own website and video meetings. He transferred his way, forms, and methods of working from the classroom into virtual world, so his explanation always found its way to the students. So we hope your explanation will find our way to these participants as well. So, Nermin, welcome.
Thank you.
Please share your example.
I'll try it. So, like said, I'm Nermin Bajramovic. I'm working at primary school. First of all, excuse me of my language. Maybe I'm a math teacher. You know the joke. I'm an engineer. No, I'm good at math, probably. So, I was, okay, I have the same problem. Probably. Okay, I'll just, okay, you can move it. So, what I was trying to say, at the outbreak of the pandemics, so it was like the Friday the 13th, I was trying to make my work online. So, like I said, the classic way of learning, so with the whiteboard and everything you have in the class, I was trying to move online. And the whole weekend I was trying to figure it out how to bring it to the students. There were no formal solutions. We know that all around the world we were cooperating with this problem. So it was my really busy weekend, and I figured it out, why not bring it home, my class. So I created the website. He was like reading the schedule all day, like he was coming to the school. So he was not like for the whole week, and just he came on some website, clicked the hour, read 4 points, and he was then done with that. He was familiar, or he was like satisfied with that, and if he was not satisfied, he then go to the Zoom meetings. So I found this funny PowerPoint slide from I don't know, 15 years ago. I was trying to make stuff a special machine to make stuff interesting. It was like, I don't know if the students know what is OHP, overhead projector. So it was like, from that time, I was trying even then to bring it more interesting, more motivational. And this is just some example of making like dynamic worksheet. Like it is like today, these days, it's quite funny. But I was trying to make it interesting and motivational, probably. So what are we dealing? When Ariana said and the colleague said, we are dealing like with the motivation. So when Ariana said that she came to the class and what we want to learn, yes, that's a good question, but we know what we want them to learn. So when you're making that question, you are like, you have a focus, just focus. And I was really trying to make this line like curvy. What is that focus that the kids wants to give it away? So they talk, listen, interact, stories, joke. They are in love. They have problems. So when we are driving through that path, we still have focus. I have always the focus to learn it that hour, that thing that I was in my head. So I let them bring everywhere around, but I have focus. Okay, this one is even more complicated. So I try to research at our hours. We are living at the time like digital. We have all information all over the world. All information we have in these tiny boxes. And why can't we use it? How? Why this works? Where to use it? And these lines I want to say that I use when we came to the problem. Research it, Google it. Ask somebody, read it. I don't know. You can make a research. I don't know everything. So the key moments are like, I think that research, focus, and also the passion at work. You don't want to listen to somebody that he's not interested in his class, probably. You have to love it by yourself. If you are using it with passion, so probably you can give it also to the students. So this is some example. We are talking about some anecdote. Like this is like real hard to solve, and this was an example of not using the calculator. You can type this into the calculator, probably, no? And from this kind of, I don't know, it was in some textbook. We came to the Gauss. It was a mathematician. Anecdote how he how to say it, sum the numbers from 1 to 10. It was the famous anecdote. And we came to the figurative numbers, we came to the triangular numbers, to the geometry, and to a lot of stuff. So some of them also tried to write it down, and I took it like here. This is analog. It still works. So that researching cycle can be done at every topic, I think. So when we met at the challenge, we can ask ourselves how to explain the challenge, or learn about it, research it, like I was talking. Maybe you can have your own ideas, or ask yourself another question, and then when he research it, I want the product, what you have learned, and if you have not learned anything, you can go around. This circle is like, you can go around. Okay, outbreak learn us that we have like this, like we have like chaos, confused, we are stressed, how to do it. There was a lot of how to do it, but now we know like this, and like this, it was like a lot of students tells us how to do it like this. So these ways what are counted, it was like problems all the way around. So backup plan, yes, this is big sentence. So I think that always teacher has a backup plan. I have this phone. If this doesn't work, I would like scroll it from my slideshow. Or if you came into the class, you have to have a backup plan. If PowerPoint doesn't work, you have to backup plan. If, I don't know, anything doesn't work, you have to have a backup plan. Okay, this this is like how I made the distance learning. So I make it, I like circles, probably you noticed. Like it was like lesson was on the web page, they read it. If they know how to do it, everything, and they know it, they were done. Then was a video meeting, they were participating, maybe they were trying to make some more knowledge, to get more knowledge. Then I was using some tools. Gamification was already in the process because I was doing the gamification in the normal class also. So I just put it inside. And the gamification I used for these researches. They are not doing it in the class, they are doing it online. So I use the technology to gamify the class. I will show it later. Responses, always we need to get from the children the responses, how they are coping with the problems. And evaluation, when we get the solutions, we have to evaluate it. If it isn't that the way we want it, so we try it again. Okay, I have the same problem. Okay. Okay. So this is some tools I was using to create the online meetings or online learning. So it was the web page, as I mentioned it. It was uploading materials, like it was just one button and going into the Google Drive. Video meetings, I have, okay, we have Zoom and any other video meetings tool. Also, I used some for checking and feedback, Google Forms or any other. For gamification, it was Classcraft, and tools and apps I was writing down. It was like old interactive whiteboard, some starboard software, and then after that, it was also Microsoft whiteboard. So this is how it looks the first day of the pandemics. So the student came the first day, it was Monday, and he was like clicking the hour and he was reading everything was on the web page. And if he done everything, he's done for that day, and the other day it was open in another link and another link and another link, not working for a week. It was like going to school. This guy is a game master. He's like my alter ego, and he was the funny guy who was talking with them with that gamification. We will meet him. Okay, my idea was like classic structures, like written down preparation from the class to make it digital. And I was keeping the same concept all the way, I don't know, it was like 3 months going. It was like chapter title, and you see lesson title, okay, that's easy. And then was always motivation and introduction. And I agree with colleague, the motivation is key for the kids. Motivational, on the web page, motivation, there are a number of possibilities to use it. And then was like explanation of the lecture, that's the hard way. And then was like links to the extra work, and then was like a homework. Four simple steps to make it a lesson. Okay, this is just bigger. So we can see that iMaker from the past works also here. So we are again trying to make stuff interesting, or maybe not just interesting, we can learn from them. Okay, this is an example of a web page. You can see it was like some cylinder. It was like motivational. My neighbor was cutting woods, and I used it for the diagonal, how you say it, I don't know. It was like rectangular. And there was my explanation and homework, like upload button, and everything was done in one single web page. And what is great with this, that everybody can use it. It's open. Nobody has to log in and checking that sign, waiting. It was just on one click. And on the web page, everything works. We don't have to go on some Confiva or Teams or anything. It just works. And slides. These are my motivations, like, I don't know, some are, you can use pictures, you can use animations, you can use video. There are impossible ways, or I don't know, numberless ways of doing it on web page. And it's like easy to get it there and everything to read. And maybe learn more block when you ask something, the motivation, like there, how to make like this house for birds. You can ask them, and if they don't know how to do it, they learn more and they read it if they want it. And I was trying to not to say the result or the solution, just think about it, some kind of that way. Okay, we have to think on feedback is getting the subject to the students. So feedback I was like getting from them, and I was like quite strict. I know that some teachers, colleagues, oh, he sent me like 10 pictures, and you see these namings of pictures. I was trying to teach them how to send materials. So if he was like photographing the materials, he had to send it like this one in one PDF with class, name, and surname. I don't know, for 2 weeks, I was answering the questions on the phone, on everywhere. I was at home, everywhere, just to how to send that PDF. So the pupils learn it, the parents learn it, everybody learn it, how to send in one single file. And my 14 weeks spare me some other time, because I will be coping with tons of pictures, you know. And if you have one PDF to check it out and to send the feedback, it's much easier than just look at the old pictures. Okay. This is the guy who was talking to them. So I bring my world to their world. My world was like comic world. Their world is like digital. They read some, or not read, they watch some different kind of stuff than I do. But this is my world, and my game master is from my world. It's a nerdy old man. He's grumpy, or I don't know, he's like yelling at them, but that's not me. It's that guy. So I was really trying to, with this, and all of this you see, I don't know, all of these clouds, what he's talking, I was sitting and creating it. It was not like just take it down from the web. Okay, you can get the picture, but you have to rethink. Or that guy was the doctors, and some guy wasn't sending to the right folder, and he said, okay, Giga, you have to send it right here. Giga, not just one student. Okay, and love your subject. What you teach, you have to love. So they see if you are trying, or if you are loving, if you are at the hour fully minded. So math is like you can read it, universal language. I try to explain them to them. If you like it, you also find it not just in elementary school. So if they bring it from the patterns to the, I don't know, to the other levels of math, like chaos theory, I don't know, and they can Google it. These are uploaded materials. When I said that it was like researching, and they have to send it in to that guy, not me, that guy, and they were sending like in the what have done. So these are like some really cool stuff that have students made. That guy, that guy was quite, I don't know, persistent. He was trying to solve some big, I don't know how to say it, problem. and he has to unlock the problem, and then he has to, it was ciphered, and he then get the result in some way. It was really a lot of work there, but it was worth for him. These are also some materials. Okay. Okay. Challenge in teaching. What tools to use? We have a lot of tools. I always said that I first of all make it like in my head what I want to have, and then find it. Not like seeing it from the colleague. Okay, that's cool, but maybe for me it's not. It's much easier to bring it like from the classic way, from the real world to the digital, than make it like just pick up from others. And that focus, thinking process is made in the head. It's like crucial. I don't know that any technology can switch the meaning of in learning process in the head. Everything is happening in the head. I can make, I don't know what kind of PowerPoint, but the process is making in the head. Okay, this was some challenge, like this is my hand drawing, and what was yours? And at Slovenia, we have a week when we have to write it with our hand. So I created like math way. Is there any connection with the, okay, this was my distance learning lesson. It was like on the computer, they were seeing it on the screen, and this is like product, what's done. So I can learn some student from the primary school to drive an ellipse and understand it. And I was trying to say them if he would if he's like have nice handwriting, is there any connection to make like nice curves? I don't know. Maybe you think that that's just I don't know, irrelevant if you make nice curves. We are typing these days, but the connections that are made in head with handwriting and drawing and expressing yourself is much bigger than any of these stuff. Okay, don't neglect any old stuff. It's not everything is old, it's like bad. If you know how to draw it on the green board, whiteboard, probably you can draw it also in the, I don't know, GeoGebra 3D. You just type it in and it was like in front of you. So I think that we have to combine these tools we are using. So I don't know, classic board, whiteboard, smart board, and the teacher is that who navigates through that. If he has to do, if I have to write it down here, I will write it down. If I have to show it on the web, I will show it on the web. If I have to go to the GeoGebra, I will draw it at the place. Not just bring the applet, like download it and it just works, everything is working. They want to see it from the scratch sometimes. Okay, this is my picture, and this is picture in the student's book. So, and a lot of them are like this, not just the best one, because they use colors. And when they use colors, they draw, and it's interesting, and not all of the works are not the same. On the computer, the works are the same. Okay, this is my iMaker, and make it like 3D. Okay, but these things would be the same for all students. Okay, and after the first outbreak, I used the Teams. Okay, because all of the schools from around the Europe or in Slovenia, they learned it from the distance learning something, and they said, okay, let's make it like we have distance learning like this, like with Teams and stuff. And they said, no, we'll make it like with Zoom and Drive and stuff. Any other school will use something else, but make it like the same in the one school, not going around. So who missed the first Corona outbreak when knowledge was like out there? Everyone was open, not closed. Now we have school, classic school. You can't see the colleague's school, what he's doing, what materials he's using, nothing. We closed our circle. That's my opinion. So I tried to use it. It is like all my classes online, were now in teams. So I tried it and put the materials in there, but it was much less interactivity from the students than the first time. Because that was, in the first time, everything was on one click. He was like, in the Teams, was like logging, uploading, not working, canceled connection and stuff. So it's much harder when you work in some system. I'm talking about in primary school than if you have like open source thing. I'm not fan of any of it. I just want it to work and the stuff to bring faster to the students. Okay, my conclusion. Okay, technology should work for us, not us for the technology. Future is more hybrid than just digital. So I like to go to the, like, I don't know, real world, classic ways, digital ways, like to go around. So this picture is like showing like cardioid. It was like drawn on the paper and it was made on a wooden plate. And the last one is like animation. Probably that girl with that wooden plate will remember it for whole life. But when you see the animation, you'll like remember it for I don't know, 5 minutes or 1 day, probably. So life is real, mind is beautiful. Let's fill it like with some stuff which is really important. And remember, all thinking processes are happening in the head. Thank you.
Thank you, Nermin. Well, from our shared background and the history, I think you showed us what ništa nas ne smije iznenaditi says.
Nothing can surprise us.
Yes, really having a teacher anywhere and with a backup plan, serious backup plan.
Yes.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, dear audience, what would you like to ask Nermin? Yes, please.
How do you think work over the distance affected us students?
Oh, great, great. At the first outbreak, I had students that have like problems at school. They were like bullying. There were problems with puberty. They were like isolated. And these kind of students were improving because he was in safe background. If there's nobody was throwing at him some stuff or making some ugly words, and he was like improving. Also, I'm improving those who have like habits, like learning habits. They were quite good and they can make even more than at classic hour. Why? Because at classic hour, you have like 15 minutes to ask somebody something or 5 minutes to say them that should be quiet or talking something, and at the distance learning, you have like 45 minutes to interact with them, to talk to them, and nobody is bothering you like it's not bothering, it's the right word. So the problem are those who are not, they have not habits, learning habits. These are problem. So, but these are the problem also the classic school. So I think that somebody can improve their skills, somebody will lose their skills. And at regular school or distant learning, somebody but just seeking for the shortcuts. I don't know if I answered it correctly. And okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. No shortcuts.
No shortcuts.
Yeah, here, please. In the first row.
So we were previously talking about motivation, and my question is, should teachers rely on students' motivation, or should they focus on creating discipline instead?
Motivation. But okay, motivation is the key, but how I get, my example, how I get the motivation is by being myself. Okay, I like my subject and I'm always with all my energy with them. I don't came like into the class, opened the computer, and please shut down. Okay, I'll just type it down. I came in with one, I don't know what, one paper, and just who is absent, just write it down and put it back in and have interaction with them. I have a lot of colleagues who don't have a lot of, like, I don't know, interaction with students, and those teachers has the problem with discipline. So if you are not there, you have problem with discipline. You are all talking or listening to me because I'm interacting with you. Okay, you are like acting like you should, but if I wasn't doing it like interesting or maybe, I don't know, interactive, you wouldn't listen. So motivation is quite important for me, but mostly it's important also that the teacher brings passion for his class and he's like interacting with his energy with the class.
Thank you. We have a comment on your lecture on online platform. Marina says that your comparison between 2020 and 2021 is very interesting because closing the boundaries on the schools again. And Axel is still with us and he's asking you, do you consider using real games for teaching, like chess, strategic games, escape games, programming?
In that gamification, yes, I use it. I have some subject that, I don't know if you are familiar with those games, like draw it with one line. Draw it with one line without putting the pencil up. We use that kind of, but it was like from the graph theory, it is like some math behind, and I use that application. If I came to the problem, I can use the application and then said, okay, Google it, okay, downloaded it, we'll try it like this. Yes, I'm using it. But that kind of gamification I'm doing, you were shown with that Game Master, it's like, it's a platform that encourages good behavior, that encourages some quests. I made them quests and they solve it and they're getting some experience points, action points, health points, points from their game life.
Okay, it looks like a combination of Hogwarts and Alan Ford. So having #1 as a game master.
Yes. I bring my world to their world. I can't be some character from their world because I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, agree. Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm interested if you've ever dealt with a student that didn't have proper access to computers and so then also online lessons, and if so, how did you deal with it?
Yes, at first outbreak, I was even at home at some student solving the problems. Yes, it was like, I don't know, a couple of students, they don't have access, but that the school, if you are talking about that they don't have a computer, okay, that was like a social problem that was solving the schools. But when I have that problem that a student can't connect, I'm talking about first outbreak, I was trying always to solve it like on the phone, with talking with parents, or typing emails, any channels we can communicate. And one single student was that kind that I came literally home and solved the problem. Is that a problem today? Maybe, I don't know. I'm never thinking, is there any problem, what to do? I'm always putting the student on the first place, solve it, and then and if somebody says me, okay, you can have a problem with that. Okay, it's already behind, because I'm not thinking of what kind of a problem I will have with that. If I would think like, I can do that to student, I can do that to student, it's quite difficult to teach because you are like always in some paranoia, what are you doing wrong? If you're doing right, you can't do it wrong.
And I've seen also that Axel and you agree on the using different kind of tools, old, standard, new, all kind of methodologies, pedagogically, digitally, I would say is allowed in teaching.
Yes, because if you don't want be just consumers or create just the consumers. We have to like learn the kids like thinking, and at the early years of their living, it's elementary. So it's big urge to make them think with their head and use all the senses. We don't have just eyes. Eyes are not just the only sense we have.
Okay, thank you, Nermin. I think we got plenty of philosophy alongside of mathematics.
Yes.
Thank you one more time. And we are ready for our new speaker. Thank you, Ned.
Thank you. Okay.
So our final speaker is Gert Lemmens, educational trainer in a future classroom lab in Brussels. 9 years ago, he started coaching program for teachers who want to create an interactive classroom in their school, work as a pedagogical trainer in a future classroom lab in Brussels, where he trained European teachers how to change their way of teaching using the latest technology and methodology. Besides being a pedagogical trainer, he's also a passionate STEM teacher in secondary school in Belgium. Welcome, Gert. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. So my name is Gert Lemmens. I'm an educational trainer in the Future Classroom Lab in Brussels. That's an environment where we train teachers across Europe how to use the latest technology for improving their teaching. Besides that, I'm also a passionate STEM teacher in a secondary school in Belgium. And they asked me to show one good IT tool which you can use for personalizing students' learning process. But before I'm going to show you that tool, I want to... okay.
You could keep talking, don't worry. So tell us more about FCL.
Well, FCL is it's a program from European Schoolnet. It's situated in Brussels, and perhaps somebody has been there already in the Future Classroom Lab. That's a lovely playground for teachers, where you can use the latest technologies for designing, for developing content for your students. Okay, yes, I want to start with this picture. Because when I show this picture to students, they always laugh at me because they think that I'm a history teacher. Because they don't know what's on the picture. It's a cassette, it's for playing music, but if you tell them, okay, we also need a pencil for rewinding the tape, they start laughing even harder because they think, what was that in the history lesson? That's really nice, but this picture illustrates that technology is changing so quickly, but unfortunately our educational system is still behind. So we need to continue by digitalization in education. Another one is also one of my favorite pictures, and then the teacher said, you make some notes. Yeah, the teacher thought that they all took their pencil and paper, but students nowadays, they have smartphones, so they have other solutions for making notes. But why do we need a transformation in the classroom? Well, it's really easy, it's for this. We don't want to see that students in the classroom like this. You need to activate students, you need to motivate them, stimulate them to take their own learning process with both hands. Perhaps you're familiar with this image in your classroom, but after this presentation, you will notice that this is also history in your classroom. Okay, first of all, because somebody told me, okay, can you explain something from FCL, the Future Classroom Lab in Brussels? We designed a classroom with 6 different learning zones. First of all, we have the interact zone. In the interact zone, you can teach on a classical way. The teacher is standing in front of the pupils, and the pupils are sitting behind the desk. It's the traditional way of teaching. But besides that, there's also a develop area in that classroom. In the develop area, that means that students can go to that area for developing and content creation from a subject or a project. And there's also a present zone in that classroom, where they present their work to other groups, other students, or the teacher, for example. But my favorite area is the investigate zone. The investigate zone is the zone where all the students use the latest technology, where they find all the information for finding the solution. There's also an exchange zone in that classroom where they can discuss with each other, where they can share their ideas, where they can share their experiences. And there's also a create. Somebody. I love it when technology works. Okay, there's the create zone. And in the create zone, the pupils have the possibility to create, for example, an instruction video or something else. Okay, I'm convinced that this is not so easy to create in your school, in your class. I'm convinced, but, oh, sorry. But I'm really convinced that if you try to make several areas in your classroom, you will see that your teaching will improve. For example, in my classroom, it's not so big as that classroom here on the picture. It allows me to walk through my classroom, and there's a group who's doing a develop zone, there's a group who has an interaction. So your role as a teacher is completely different. Thank you. And as you can see here, the future classroom or your classroom after today should be a room where a learning environment is where your students are able to investigate, to create, to develop, to exchange, to interact with each other. And your role as a teacher is simply, I call it a help desk. For example, when they have problems using IT tools, or you're also a coach. Because when you have several groups in your classroom, it's very easy. You can go to that group, you can help them, and the other groups work separately. So you don't teach in a traditional way anymore. You can also provide individual feedback and also feed forward for that. Yeah, here's a quick summary of a traditional way of teaching and a modern way of teaching. But when you look at the modern education, you will see that the learner-centered. The pupil is in the middle of the learning process, not the teacher. The student is in the middle of the learning process. And as you can see, it's really interactive and engaging. Nowadays, we have so many tools which you can use in the classroom. But if you compare it with your lesson, mostly teachers are familiar with only that type of IT tool, and we continue using it. No, start something new. And the theme of the idea that I want to present to you, the IT tool, is called Lumio. It's a very practical software tool which you can use in your classroom, but it's completely cloud-based. That means you don't need to install any hardware on a device. You can do it anywhere, anytime, any place. So if you're teaching in another classroom, another school, distance learning, when you have to stay at home for the pandemic, for example, you can use this software as well. The only thing that students need to have is a device and internet connection. That's the only thing that you need to have in your classroom or at home. And the students, they receive an access code, and you will see there are so many possibilities in this tool for personalizing learning process with children. First of all, there are two main options in this software program. You have the student-paced mode, but also the teacher-paced mode. The teacher-paced mode, I call it a classical way of teaching. For example, when you have content, you can easily select, go from one page to the other one, and everybody has to follow your instructions. But I prefer the student-paced mode, because when you are you're sitting in a class with 20 students, and you have done your explanation once, okay, perhaps, hopefully, 50% of the students will understand your explanations, but the other half, okay, please, can you explain it a second time for us, because we didn't understand it. But when you use this tool, they can always go back for repeating my instruction videos, for example. So that's really important. They learn at their own speed. That's really important. One of the tools which is inside this program, it's called collaborative workspace. For example, a brainstorm activity. Everybody in this classroom is connected to my program. I ask him one question and everybody can answer it, and it comes to my board. Or like this, a shouted out activity, as you can see here. And that's really nice, because I don't know if you already used a similar program like this, but when you ask a question in your classroom, mostly the most motivated students, they will raise their hand and they will answer. Or if you're a good teacher, you can tell, okay, mister, you're lazy, please tell me the answer. But using this program, everybody is connected. So when somebody is not answering my questions, I can easily see it in my screen, and I can tell to that person, please pay attention and work with us. So that's one of the items. When I start using this program, I noticed that not all, 99% of my pupils were actively involved in my lessons. Before I start my subject, my content lesson, for example, I always start with a pre-test. There are no results, there are no points to earn, but I use the results for dividing my class group in 4 different groups. And as you can see over there, you see all my names for my students are inside the software, and I make 4 different groups with Bloom's taxonomy, and I can easily check with their results from the pre-test, and then I select, okay, for example, Anita and Basha, you are still in the understanding group, so I select those 2, and I give them the content for the understanding. For example, when Joshua and Harrison, when they are, for example, very good, and they have to be in the create lesson, I select those 2 names, and they come to the create lesson. So when I start using this program, and I divide my classroom in 4 different groups, each group has its own content, from easy to very difficult, but everybody in my classroom is doing the exercises that he or she should do. Because when I just say, okay, are we all going to do the understanding exercises? Mostly, the most intelligent pupils will say, oh no, it's boring, you have to activate me. But when you use the most difficult exercise, the pupils who are having difficulties with your subject will say, oh my God, what is this here? Yeah, for just a quick reminder, but here you can see the content creation. There's so many things that you can use in that program. It's unbelievable. You can make your own instruction videos. You can use gamification tools for that. There's also a self-test exercise, as you can see on the next page, for example. There's an activity player with all kinds of activities which you can make, and it's already pre-made for you. So you don't need to program it. No, it's already made for you, but you can use it for making exercises for your subject. For example, here, fill in the blanks, as you can see over here. So everybody can make the exercise, no worries. But as you can see over there, once they fill in all the answers, you can see it's always with a self-checker. So the checker tool allows them to give them feedback. These answers are correct, these are wrong, and then you can see, okay, we can continue. Or label reveal. If you have any image, any picture which you want to use, you can make it interactive in this software. You can label it, you can give it more information. And also here, the most intelligent students, they will click once and they remember, okay, that's that, and that's that. But for the other students, they will rewind the exercise again. Not with a pencil, rewind. There's also a super sort category, as you can see, with a lot of themes which you can use. And one of my favorites is the speed up game, because we talked about gamification education. For example, I mentioned 4 different groups. And at the end of the lesson, each group receives a game. But I have 4 games, because when you use one game, then you need to make really easy questions, but also very difficult questions. But now I have 4 different games. So I have questions for a group for the understanding, I have questions for the group analyzing, and the 2 other groups. And that's really nice to see, because when you play one game with the whole class, always the same students are at the end. And that's not motivating. That's not motivated for those students, because they're always lost. And you have always students who are on the top. But now when I divide my 4 games, there's more competition between the students, because they have the same level. But you as a teacher, because I walk around in my classroom, I don't stay in front of the classroom, I walk around, and there's also a page overview where you can easily see, okay, that person is already at the end, but he has, for example, more red circles. That means that the exercises are not okay. But you can follow the student's progress using this tool as well. But of course, yeah, when you start with the understanding exercise, oh my God, I'm finished. What do I need to do? Well, the system allows you to unlock the next level. So once they finished, for example, halfway the lesson and they're finished, the system unlocks the next level automatically. And until now, nobody succeeded in my highest level. So I make my exercises so difficult to motivate my students, but it's never occurred that one of my students received the highest level. Okay, also, yeah, are you sitting in the classroom? Okay, that's nice to use that tool, but also when they are abroad, when they are at home, you can give it as homework as well. You can use it anywhere, anytime, and any place. Okay, what are the advantages of using this tool or other tools for personalizing your students' learning process? Well, okay, you get an enormous increasing from student involvement, because everybody in my lesson is actively involved because they can make exercises at their own level. And that's one of the reasons, because somebody mentioned before that how can you motivate your students for your lesson? It's sometimes really hard to motivate them, but mostly it has to do with because they don't understand everything, and when students don't understand everything, their attention is gone. But when you make exercise at their level, you will notice that their motivation is much higher. And also the gamification elements for unlock the next level is a kind of external motivator for those students. Also, yeah, student-paced learning. I'm really convinced that that is the future, that you need to make sure that each student can learn at their own learning speed. Personal learning process with feed forward and feed back. As I mentioned before, I walk around in my classroom. I can give them feedback, feed forward, pay attention next time for that. And also, they have to be, of course, up to date using the latest technology, because when you don't use technology in your classroom and they go to work several years later and they've never heard about, for example, online tools, there is a problem, because we need to prepare our students for the real world. Therefore, it's really important that you as a teacher use the latest technology as well. But also there are some difficulties. I agree, because internet is one of the main issues in some schools where the internet doesn't work properly. The ICT knowledge with students and teachers, and therefore, somebody else mentioned it before, but it's a top priority for teacher training in ICT tools. Because if you are the master in IT tools, your students will love to be taught by you. That's really nice to hear. But also IT budget from the school. Sometimes your principal will say, oh my God, is it so expensive? No, we can't afford it. Mostly these tools are not so expensive, but a principal, he doesn't need to work with those tools. So mostly he says, okay, it's too expensive. This is one of my favorite sentences. It says, from Benjamin Franklin, tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, but involve me in the lesson and I will learn. That's really nice to see. And I end my presentation with my favorite bus, because I compare education with a bus. And in this case, pedagogy is the driver, technology is the accelerator, but you, the bus driver, is the passion, is the gas. If you are passionate and you are really convinced that you are teaching on the correct way, your students will definitely be more motivated to come to your classroom. It all depends on the motivation of the teacher. That's the most important sentence that I want to show you today. Are there any questions?
Yes, there are. Thank you, Gert.
Yeah, thank you.
So your assignments are based on levels, right? So how does testing work then, since students are on different levels in your assignments?
So I always test them in the beginning of my, for example, my project or my lesson. So I test only the basic knowledge of them. Not the end knowledge that they should know, but what do they already know about my content, about my lesson, about my project? And when I see the results, I can easily divide them in different groups. For example, when I have a project, a quick example, when we have a project about, for example, football. Okay, then you will see there are pupils who know a lot of football, the rules, famous players, but there's also pupils who don't know nothing about football. So it's just for pre-testing, their basic knowledge already, not at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, hello, Herman de Plas from the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, the privacy of learners' data is very much an issue in relation also to the European privacy law. And you mentioned that this Lumio is fully cloud-based, so I was wondering what guarantees you have to guarantee the privacy of the pupils and students.
I didn't develop this tool myself, so I have no idea if any cloud-based program guarantees us that the privacy rules will be completely followed. I can't tell you, I will be honest, but for example, all my presentations are always cloud-based. I have no idea what happened with my presentation, for example, in the cloud. I have no idea. I hope, if I'm being honest, I hope that the rules about privacy in the cloud are very strict. But I am convinced that the makers of such a tool, they will use data for example, improving their tool. That's my opinion. But I don't know if they use the data for sending your spam or something like this, but I think they will use the data for improving their tool. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. There's a more question here in first line.
I'm interested in what's your opinion on developing addictions from spending a lot of time behind the screen?
Can you repeat it again for me?
Yes. What is your opinion on developing addictions from spending a lot of time behind the screen, and what would you do to prevent it?
Okay, that's a really good question, because if you want to use this program or another IT tool, they always need a device. It could be a smartphone, tablet, computer. But nowadays, people, they are not addicted to the screens, but when I looked at the presentations, for example, in the main hall this morning, I think most people are doing something with their device. So I'm not convinced that we should say to the children, okay, we only use the screen for 10 minutes in our lesson and then put it away. But I think there should be a good mix between using the screen, using technology, and leaving it behind and do something traditional way. I think it will be a mix between those two. But when I came here, for example, at the airport, everybody is doing something with their smartphone. The older days, they were reading all the newspaper, and now everybody's using smartphones. So the problem is, and I come in a lot of countries, and mostly the problem is pupils, they are sitting a lot of time behind their smartphone or tablet, but they do completely other things than we do with a smartphone or a tablet. For example, when I ask my students, okay, log in and export that file to PowerPoint, for example, how does it work? How does it work? But they are sitting hours behind that screen, but they use other options. They are addicted to games and TikTok and Instagram, but they don't know how to work properly with a device. And that's also a challenge in the near future.
Thank you, Gert. Okay, oh yes, no, yes or no? Yeah, okay, a little one, because now it's time to give a voice to the students.
Okay.
I just wanted to say in your defense that I don't think that using tools in schools raises addiction, because I remember my daughter, it's not school tools, it's when they finished and they started talking on, mails, and she's a little bit strictly raised, she didn't know, and then she find out you can use that and that. So I don't think the addiction comes from the school tools, it comes from socializing and finding out.
Therefore, it's my opinion, but the social media, ladies and gentlemen, I hate them for those kids. You know why? Because they are addicted to the social media and they want to always compare with, oh, look what nice family pictures or holiday pictures, I want to do the same. So there's a big competition between students. They want to be the best in everything, but that's not possible. And yeah, I hate social media at that point. I agree.
Thank you. We all live in virtual spaces last few years. Thank you, Gert.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I will ask Nermin to assist me in the final round. So this is a time for our students' voice. My guests are Filip Strahinic iz Oše Trepnje. Ella, please join us in front of. Ela Ramšak, Oše narodnog heroja Rajka Hrastnik, Iva Lesjak, Oše Frana Alberta Kamnik, Noel Jug, Oše Dolenjske Toplice, Ema Horvat, Osnovna škola Prežihove Kvoranca Bistrica, Zana Kovačić, Osnovna škola Gustava Štiliha Laporje. I apologize if I read your names wrong.
Yeah, it was sort of Croatian pronunciation.
Yeah, sorry, Croatian English hybrid. And please, could you give us a microphone for the students? Yes. Nermin, please help us.
Okay, so you're probably asking yourself, what are we doing here? I was really honored and glad to coordinate these young people to tell you how it should look, the classroom or future teaching. So there should be 6 of us, but because of the COVID situation, one of them will join us, Zana, from the Zoom meeting. So we were talking about future learning and classroom, and I was thrilled with the ideas of these young people. So I will let them to convince you how it should look like in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Iva Lesjak, and I'm from the primary school of Frana Alberta Kamnik, and I will be presenting knowledge in the future. A lot of students use their phones on a daily basis for long periods of time, and that can make them not want to study. So in the future, they will need to have self-discipline to reject the need to use a phone and set priorities or better priorities. A lot of students could acquire knowledge in multiple ways. Example, in nature, online, and of course, in real life. We could also use simulators or 3D glasses so we could understand certain things better. Since computers and other types of technology are used a lot these days, we should learn how to use them in school and how we can use it to help us, since not all students have access to the type of knowledge and it will be needed in these days. Students are usually always sitting during class, and that could cause a huge health problem to them, so we should move around more during class, which could also help with memorizing things. Practical knowledge. Students could try out and actually make their ideas come to life, like making an entrepreneurial strategy or a product. Almost all students have something that helps them study better, and I think teachers should take that into account during lessons, since it could improve grades and make students feel more safe and comfortable in their classroom.
My name is Zana, and I'm representing primary school Gustava Štiliha Laporje. I'm going to talk about how I think classrooms in the future will be like. I believe that they will look different because as technology evolves, so will the technology evolve in the classroom. Technology will also allow for varied teaching approaches. Students will be allowed to use smart devices that will provide them new and exciting learning opportunities rather than being a distraction. And instead of going to specific classes in person, teachers and students will communicate through technology. I also think that rows of desks in which we are learning today will be replaced with collaborative centers to encourage teamwork.
Hello, my name is Filip Strahinic, and today I will be representing primary school Trebnje and spend my couple of minutes on showing my take on the school system in the future, specifically focusing on fixing the current way of teaching and why we should implement online classes in the future. Firstly, I would like you to think to yourself about schools and how they work. Let's take me as an example. I arrive at a classroom, sit at a desk with very limited space, listen to a teacher and maybe take some notes. And now I want everybody in this room to once again think and ask yourself, is this okay? Is this the optimal way for this curriculum to be taught? Because let me tell you, we, the people in this very room, we are the people that can change the school system, and we are the people that will change the school system, for it is currently leaning heavily in the wrong direction. You see, the current system still stands on the grounds of the industrial age that was preparing children for factories, hence therefore sitting and listening to a teacher that, by the way, has an enormous amount of authority over you, learning how to follow instructions and basically having no communication or collaboration at all. But I don't want the student to just sit there, listen, and forget everything that he learned about the very second he gets home. I want the student to be active, for him to teach himself through various exercises and tasks given to him by the teacher, and I want that very teacher to leave his students with freedom and just ever so slightly lead them into the direction of learning. Now, if that was the main problem, while it is still solvable, we still have a very big problem on our hands, consisting of the school not going ahead with the time, implementing technology into the curriculum, and not using technology to teach that curriculum, which leads me to my next part. In the past few years, through unpleasant circumstances, we have experienced online classes, and yes, at first there were some problems, and there still are a lot of problems. But that's because the school does not know how to cope with the subject of evolution and does not know how to teach us how to cope with the subject of evolution. But at least now, with a little bit of sense and experience, we have found a hidden gem in this mess and the state of the world we are currently living in. And honestly, even with all the problems, I preferred it over the regular way of schooling. There are just so many pros that online classes have to offer us that just cannot go unlooked and should be taken into account at the debate of online classes versus sitting in a classroom all day long. Like, online school offers the freedom that schools as buildings will never let us experience and doesn't border us to the same schedules, routines, and processes over and over again, which, as a student, I highly appreciate. The classroom and your teacher are also theoretically available 24/7, which means you can instantly ask any question that hops into your mind, whether it's right after the lesson or 5 hours later, resulting in more one-on-one experience with the teacher and leaving the student more understanding in the field of the subject. And still, I think we haven't figured out the true potential of working from home. But sadly, everything I just said doesn't mean it's all honey and sugar. There are still many problems, like the teachers not engaging students in the class, even though they finally have the tools to do so, not giving feedback as it now suddenly takes too much time, leaving the students uncoordinated and not knowing what to do, and basically just not getting comfortable with their virtual classroom. But the thing is, once again, that there wouldn't be any of these problems if schools just adopted the digitalization and improved their thoughts on it and made everyone comfortable with it. Lastly, I want you to know that we, humanity as a whole, are living in the age of digitalization, meaning that sooner or later, schools will fully digitalize, regardless of our opinion, if we like it or not. So personally, I think it's better to fully embrace online classes now than later, but we can only achieve that with the school accepting the functionality and evolution of technology. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I not only picture, but want the school system to be in the future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emma Horvat. I come from primary school Prežihovega Voranca Bistrica, and today I will talk about my view of how students should be in the future. We live in a time when digital technology reigns supreme. This is why it is imperative that the pedagogical and educational processes adapt to the coming changes. When I was thinking about the future of young people, I imagined myself in a role of a teacher. I tried to imagine what schools should offer to students so that they will be equipped with knowledge and ability to adapt to future changes. I believe that the students in future should have the following competences. First, they will have to be flexible. They will have to be able to quickly adapt to changes in the environment, which will affect the pedagogical process. Lessons in person will be combined with work over the distance. Due to the epidemic, I have experienced this kind of work, and it allowed me to organize my studying in a way which best suited me. We worked with apps like Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Both of them enable important interactions between students and teachers. Second, due to enormous amounts of false information available on the internet, they will have to be able to think critically. Students will constantly have to assess which information is real and which information is false. Third, they will have to know how to work together in teams. It is crucial that they know how to cooperate with others, which leads to new ideas and greater adaptability. Fourth, they will have to be creative and responsible. This will lead students to think outside of the box because they will constantly have to try and find new ways and better ways of solving problems. Our school is already working towards these goals. We have been working on a project called Inovativna učna okolja podprta z ITK, innovative school environment supported by digital technology, where both students and teachers have attained new digital skills. Therefore, the students at our school aren't just users of new applications, we're actively creating new materials as well. We place great emphasis on programming. Furthermore, we are already making first steps in working with artificial intelligence. Thank you.
My name is Noel Juk and I'm coming from primary school Dolenjske Toplice. And I'm going to tell you something about future teacher. In future, artificial intelligence will assist teacher with helping counting students, checking who is missing, scanning homework, and identifying the mistakes. That are some of the primary things that AI will do. And in the future, AI will do so much more. Future teacher must encourage student and must recognize student strength. With that, he can lead the student to research and learn more about their interest, and with that, student can find new things that are interesting to them. Teacher must encourage teamwork with carefully formed groups. He must guide students to learn from their experiences. He must be nice, patient, understanding, and positively oriented, so the students are feeling good in the school environment. And teacher must use modern technology, something like interactive boards and other learning tools, to present things that the class is working on. And he must be an expert at his work. Thank you for listening.
Well, not so fast. Please stay here for the few seconds at least. Well, thank you for reality check for all of us teachers. I think we got very strong feedback of how we have to be. Not the future teacher, but today's teacher, I would say. And I agree with all of your recommendations. But let's see what our audience have questions for you. So, students are here now. What will you ask them? Ariana? Okay, I will. Will you, please? Thank you.
So you mentioned that the interaction between you and the teacher was better in the virtual environment, right? So you could talk to your teacher more easily by sending messages. What about the interaction among you? Is it better in face-to-face school? How do you interact online with your classmates?
I mean, personally, I didn't notice much differences because even in regular times, we were still speaking mostly virtually, so through different channels and different social networks. So I think I didn't notice that big of a difference, but I can imagine that for some other pupils and students, the difference was much bigger. So, yeah.
You have a microphone, Nermin.
Okay, I can just stand down. Okay. I would just want to thank them because they show us how to make a presentation without PowerPoint presentation, because we were in a separate channel, so it got lost, but they made it, but probably wouldn't be the same with me and the colleague. My question is that we elderly, we think that when children were boring at, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, they will go out and play and figure it out new games when they're boring. These days, the kids, when they're boring, took the smartphone and there is no creativity with just looking at the pictures and videos and stuff. So what do you think about my opinion that when you are boring, that you are not creating anything? Okay, that's a challenge.
We have a little bit of a problem here. We don't know who would answer that. I would say that's a very good question. And yes, you're completely right. You did go out, invent basically new games to get through the boredom, while yes, we are just scrolling on our phones. But I don't know how to explain it, but I think we find other means of creativity in our everyday lives. I think that's what changed also. So yeah, I agree with your opinion that we aren't as creative when we are bored, but I think we still are creative in our everyday lives. So.
Okay, so as Philip said, we are still creative, and okay, so you all know we play video games, and there's many different video games, and say there's like Minecraft or something. You can do many different things in Minecraft that you can think of, and you can explore your creativity there as well. So yes, we are creative. We are creative, maybe not as much as you were, but we still are creative, yes.
Not with the same tools and same materials, but definitely creative. We could see here, if Nermin wouldn't mention that you expected to have PowerPoint behind yourself, nobody will notice that. So you were perfectly handling and creatively solving the problem on the side. If I may ask, Zana, are you here with us still? Yeah, okay, so this is your experience being a lecturer in a virtual space. How do you feel? How do you see us there and you there?
I mean, it's something that I wouldn't imagine I would do like a few years ago before the quarantine started. But now it's just something that we do a lot in school when we have video calls and we have lectures online. So I think because I couldn't come there today, it's a useful way that I can still collaborate on this meeting.
Really appreciate that you join us virtually. Thank you for being there. So, audience, any more questions? Okay, thank you. Now you may leave the floor. And for ending this session, we have a test for you, of course. There are plenty of teachers here. So on the screen, you will be seeing sketch notes from our colleague Mara from Brussels, I think. Make it bigger, please. Okay. So what do you remember from the lectures? Well, Ariana, you are first on the list as Axel is not with us anymore. So, Ariana, did she take good notes from your lecture? Where are you there? Microphone? He's sleeping. At least you had the time to watch the pictures. Nermin had the same question, it will be on your side. So, Ariana?
So, voices of learners, I guess, that's, yes, okay. Just a moment. What to do when students don't want to learn, are persistent? No, it's this one
up in the middle.
In the middle. Persistence, addictions. I guess.
Okay. You've probably mentioned some of those things.
I need to look more closely at this. So maybe Nermin, you can find yours.
You have a microphone on yourself, Nermin, please.
Mine is down there. Hybrid and just...
And just digital?
Digital.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you move to the bottom part? The red web page? Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's quite good. Okay, hybrid, not just digital. Okay, that's the bind the tools. Focus, yes, research, passion, flip learning.
Okay, I remember passion. You have to love what you teach.
Yes,
absolutely
so
passion.
It's nice.
And co-creation, yeah, it's from Axel's presentation and also from yours about the co-creation. Ariana, you wanted to say something?
No, I can see it here. So it's down the left on the left-hand side. So it's about learning. Let's co-create. I think this is very important. And students as decision makers and agents. So yes, I think it covers it very nicely.
Okay, very important note. Gert, your part is where? Zones and Lumia.
Yes, I saw my nice picture with the 6 learning zones. If I'm being honest, that lady, Mara, she's really creative in doing such things. Really nice, but unfortunately she forgot to draw my bus. She forgot my bus.
Okay, thank you. Trying to think. So we have a moving in the back side. Audience, did you notice something you want to comment? Okay, thank you, Mara. Do we have another picture you would like to show us, or?
No, I try to summarize everything on one big.
This is the one. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate these sketch notes because I'm useless in this. I can't draw. I could just write. My skills are mathematical, so I could construct ellipse, but not something like that. So thank you, dear lecturers. Thank you, dear students. Thank you, dear audience, and all of the online community for being with us today. It was very interesting. I think we have plenty of things to bring back home or bring back to our classroom and the schools. Lunch is waiting for you downstairs in a few minutes, and then we continue with another session in the afternoon. Thank you for being here. See you soon.